Ready. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Previously, I respect to Mr. Mutamam as a lecturer in the course of this research method. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity that's been given to me to deliver this presentation with video recording media. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Riska Maulidah with number ID student 25200X7 from English Study Program. Today, July 4, 2022, I feel happy because I have the opportunity to be here and to be present in front of you to present assignment, my final assignment with the title The Effect of Visual Media on Children's Foreign Vocabulary Development. This research aims to develop audiovisual media as a medium of learning in accordance with the eligibility criteria of Media Effective Learning English Vocabulary to Children. The development of visual media by using Adobe After Effects. And then this type of research is the development of a research known as R&D. Development model used in this study is the EDI model of instructional development. The research was conducted in Paut and Sajigot with subject of 36 students with two sections. The instrument used were documentation and marking sheet. The criteria for the success of the study were determined by at least 18% of students getting score more than 80. This meant that the cycle 1 action was successful. Meanwhile, in the cycle 2, they still uh, continue to know the increase in the result of participation and the result of student English vocabulary. The result of the English student vocabulary test in cycle 2 showed that 83.3% of 36 students or 30 students scored more than 80. This meant that there was also some improvement from cycle 1 to cycle 2 as much as 2.7% of students who scored more than 80. From the above result, it can be concluded that the use of pop-up picture and visual media, the use of to learning English vocabulary can improve the achievement of English vocabulary of we all live in the globalization era where English might be considered primary. In the past, we know that primary needs are needs that include clothing, housing, and food. However, over time, English is also included in these needs, including the method of learning English, which over time has also changed. From the description above, we will get one question. It is because English is universal language that is used in the most of people in the world, or if we master English, then we will able to communicate with anyone. In the study, it was found that the increase that occurred before and after the application of the method of increasing the average of vocabulary of our students. When viewed from the student ability criteria, the existing improvement from the bad category or poor increased to insufficient and then increased to good, depend on the use of method. Thus, it can be concluded that the application of the method is the audiovisual or ETC method in the process of teaching, especially vocabulary teaching, and improve students' vocabulary mastery. There are more than 1 billion people who study English around the world, and this number will be increased 2 billion in 2020 and will continue to increase over time. The increase of this number is dominated by students and professionals from countries that don't have English as their primary language. You could say that when they compare to several countries in Southeast Asia, Indonesia is still struggling to catch up with the level of English proficiency. Based on the English Proficiency Index, Indonesia ranked 13 period from 2014 to 2018. Indonesia has always experienced a decline in proficiency trend. Learning in learning and activity that intend to produce lesson, external situation must be designed in such a way as to active, support, and maintain internal process that contain in its learning event. There are several factors that make it difficult for English to take root in Indonesian society. One is one is which is the teaching and learning method that is only oriented for the material in the classroom, and it doesn't apply in everyday life. Learning is a permanent Learning is permanent change in the behavior as a result of the reinforced experience or practice. A person is considered to have learned in a person is considered to have learned in if he can show this the his behavior. According to the theory, the stimulus in the student, the response is in the previous definition states that human learn in the change that occur. But also, it's not learning itself. The concept of theoretical and thus not directly observable. It is known that there are four stages of human learning, right? These are subconscious incompetence, which is not being aware. It is known that there are four stages of human learning, right? Those are subconscious incompetence, which is not being aware that he does not know, and then which is being aware that he does not know, and then conscious competence, being aware that he knows, and unconscious competence, which is not being aware that he knows. Learning itself is the interaction of student with educator and learning resource in an environment. Furthermore, Jasny in 2095 put forward his theory by saying that learning is the situation must be designed in such a way as such a way as to active, support, and maintain the learning event. The success of the learning is very dependent on the motivation and student of the creativity the teacher. The quality of learning, as stated by Winarnos Rahmat, is a learning program that includes two main aspects. There are material and process. Considering that learning models are essential for strategies and method, it is necessary to know that learning methods for learning English are still crucial. One of the most frequently asked questions in the whole sphere of foreign language learning is how do we increase English vocabulary in young children? By expanding our knowledge and vocabulary, we are humans who live in a world full of globalization can communicate well. The different treatment in the teaching and learning process need to be done and reduce the level of difficulty experienced by students. Use the appropriate teaching media and with teaching methods that are used by teacher may make it easier to for students learn this language. The use of conventional media such as book, of course, and attractive for students, especially in English. The use of book that mostly filled with long sentences and verbal expression. A teacher will monotonously make it difficult for students to learn this language. The need for more innovative learning media that is tailored to needs, both in the characteristic and subject. Not had instead, the use of the visual aid is the one of the effort to make it easier to understand the language being studied. The research design used in this study is one group pre-test post-test design is a research design that is applied to group subject to a group of providing treatment and measurement before the after treatment is given. Subject were given a pre-test before treatment and so that the result of the treatment will be more accurate because it can combat with the previous condition being treated. In this study, the data collection technique was carried out with a test that useful for knowing the extent to which the interest in mastery language. The test used in the form of objective gaps given with a variety of multiple choice with for alternative answer. The correct answer gets a score of 1 and the wrong answer gets score of 0. In this study, the data collection technique was carried out with a test that useful for knowing the extent to which increase in mastery language English. The test used in the form an objective test given by variety multiple choice with four alternative answers. The use multiple choice question in study are first. The material-based test may include most of the teaching material has been given. 2. Can measure student ability in mastering English vocabulary through the correct answer choice. And 3. Easier and faster in processing and correcting. 4. The assessment given to objective because for each question it has been must be right or wrong. Data analysis is the method used in processing data and analyze the data that has been collected in this study to prove the hypothesis that has been proposed. Theory description. First, visual media. Definition of visual media is the word media comes from the Latin medius, which literally means middle, intermediary, or introduction. In Arabic, the media are intermediaries. Understanding the media in the teaching and learning process tend to be interpreted as a graphic, photographic, or electronic tool that capture, process, and rearrange visual or verbal information. Media can also be sensed that function as intermediary or means or tool for the as an intermediary process learning process. The media is very helpful in the teaching and learning. Plays an important role in the teacher work of education, where every teacher needs media as a support for yeah delivery of the information to the children to the student, and therefore one of the effort to overcome this is by using media in the process learning. According to the Omar Hamali in the book entitled Educational Media Tools, Method and Technique used to make communication and interaction between teacher and student more effective. It can be concluded that the media is a tool that can be connected to interaction between teacher and student during the teaching and learning process. The media is very helpful for a teacher when delivered learning material. Students are also more helped in understanding and catch up the material, and then they will become more enthusiastic in learning. Follow the learning process. From some the opinion of the expert above, it can be concluded that media is a teaching aid or media means used to convey message as a support in teaching process. Uh, while visual media is media that sees from the point of view of sight. Visual means a view how learning can be carried out using sense of sight. Therefore, the media is not a necessity but as a complement if deemed necessary to enhance quality, teaching and learning process. Visual-based media play very important role in process study. Visual media can facilitate understanding uh, and, stre- and strengthen memory. Visual can also foster student interest, can provide relationship between the content of the subject matter with the real world in order for learning to be effective and efficient. In this case, visual media is also used as an intermediary to assist the learning process in school as well as learning media as general. Visual learning media, in particular, can show what should be and the real appearance of the phenomena studied. Media feature. General characteristic of educational media. Educational media has a cycle since we today is known as hardware, which is something that can be seen, heard, and touched with five senses. Educational media has a non-cycle meaning known as software, namely message content contained in the hardware, which is the content to be conveyed to students. And three, emphasis on educational media is visual and audio. And four, educational media has the meaning of the aid and the learning process both inside and outside the classroom. Educational media is used in the context of communication and interaction between teacher and student in the learning process. And six, educational media can be used in bulk, for example in radio or television. And the last example is a group or small group. And the last is attitude, action, organization, strategy, and management related to the application of science. The characteristic of educational media, according to Jarlak and Eli in Azar Asad quote, first is fixative feature. This feature describes the ability of the media to record, store, preserve, and reconstruct an event or object. An event of object can be stored and rearranged with media such as photography, video, tape, and audio tape, computer, diskette, and film. Two is manipulative trade. Days of time can be present to students in 2 or 3 minutes with a time-lapse recording technique. And the three is distributive characteristic. The distributive characteristic of the media allow an object or event to be transported through space and simultaneously the event is present to a large number of students with relatively the same experiential stimulus about the event. And then various media. This learning media can be divided into three, namely, first, audio media. Audio media is a type of media that can be channeled teaching messages related to the sense of hearing. Several types of media can be classified into audio media such as radio, tape recorder, LPS, and language laboratories. And two is visual media. Visual media are media that only rely on the sense of sight. They are visual media display still images such as film, photo, picture, painting, and print. There is also a visual media that display moving image or symbols such as silent film or animation. And three, audiovisual media. Audiovisual media is a media that has sound and image element. This type of media has the ability better because it includes both the first and second types of media, namely media displays. Yeah, this media is further divided into two: silent audiovisual and audiovisual motion. The silent audiovisual, namely media that displays sound and still images as sound from film, film voice compile and sound print, and the second is audiovisual motion, namely media that can display elements of sound and moving images as film, video, cassette, or other division. Other division of this medium are first, pure audiovisual. Its both sound and image element come from the one source such as the video cassette film. 2. Impure audiovisual. Namely, this both sound element and picture element come from different sources. For example, sound from film whose picture element are sourced from projector's light and sound element are from tape. According to Harijanto, there are several types of media that can be used in the teaching process, including 1. Graphic media such as picture, book, graphic, cards, or diagram, poster, cartoon, comic, or etc. Graphic media is often called two-dimensional media, and the second is three-dimensional media, namely in the form of models such as solid model, cross-section model, stacking model, work model, mock-up, diorama, and other. And then projection media such as slide, film, strip, sectional, uh, use of OIP, and other. And the fourth is the use of the environment such as educational media. Visual media is divided into two, namely non-project viewing media and projecting viewing media. Non-projecting media is a medium that is often used in a teaching and learning process, but two-dimensional and three-dimensional in its operation. It does not require electric light or projector. The use of teaching media in the teaching of learning process can generate new desire and interest. Uh, for learning activities, psychological effect on for learning activities and even bring psychological effect on students. The use of teaching media at the teaching orientation will greatly help the effectiveness of the learning process and the delivery of message and the content lesson at the time. In addition, arousing student motivation and interest teaching media can also help students improve understanding uh, present data in an interesting or reliable way and facilitate data interpretation. Well, project media, namely projection viewing media, is one group of teaching which its operation require projector or highlighting with light so that it can be seen or seen by the media user. Some example of the used visual media as one is poster. Poster is combination of picture and writing in one field that provide information about one or two main ideas. The second is image or photo media. Photo is a medium for reproduction, the original form in two dimensions. This photo is an effective visual tool because it can visualize something that will be explained more concretely and realistically. The information conveyed can be understood easily, and the results demonstrated are closer to the reality through photo shown to the children, and the result will be the same. And next is comics media. Comics are the media that are simple, clear, and easy to understand. Therefore, comics media can function as information and educative media. Even so, the use of comic uh, must be careful because they are often more commercial in nature without considering its impact. The benefit and function of media in general is the presentation of messages so that they are not too verbalistic, overcome the limitation of space, time, and sense, can overcome to the passive attitude of student because learning using media can create enthusiasm for learning, allow more direct interaction between student and the environment, and yeah, to learn independently according to their abilities. According to Cam and Tayton in their book Azar al-Arshad, who entitled Learning Media, that he benefits of learning media. First, the delivery of lesson become more standardized. Two, learning can be more interesting. Three, learning become more interactive with application of theory. And four, the length of learning time required can be shortened because most media only need a short amount of time to deliver message and lesson in sufficient quantities. And five, the quality of learning outcomes can be improved when the integration of words and images as learning media can communicate element of knowledge, uh, well, specific and clear way. The sixth is learning can be given when and where it desired or needed, especially if the learning media is designed for individual use. And the seventh, student positive attitude toward what they are learning and toward the learning process can be improved. And eight, the teacher role can be changed in a more positive direction. The burden of the teacher to explain the material can be repeated about the content of the lesson. Today, there are three learning methods in the English teaching and learning industry around the world, namely the grammar translation, audiolingual, and direct tutorial method. We realize that students need the effectiveness and appropriate learning method to improve the English language skill. The success of learning English is highly depend on the teacher providing teaching. The quality teacher in providing teaching is program that include two main aspects. They are learning model and the method. Is what we as humans who live in a world full of globalization can communicate well. Therefore, learning a new language is an activity that can be denied and yeah, can avoid it of it. However, what about people who do not know the foreign language at all? Then dig deeper into what are the drawbacks in it. One of the best methods for learning English is the direct method. Direct method is also known as the natural method. Is the main idea of direct that only used in the target language that students are trying to learning. Grammar is taught in an inductive way, and students need to try to guess what the rules and yeah, through the teacher or oral presentation. As the name suggests, in this English learning education, uh, prefer prefer this learning style and the main idea behind the method. This is very common student to who wish to study literature to deeper level. If you seen of her of the theory method page, you might think that there is an army training. There is army training going on. We can say it's one because this learning method was first used in France and Germany in early 2019 2019 to help soldiers to be able to communicate in second language. Uh, the characteristic features of the direct method are concept and vocabulary. Through pantomiming real-life objects and their other visual teaching grammar. The centrality of spoken language, including native-like pronunciation, focus on question-answer pattern. The direct method of teaching, which is sometimes called natural method, used in teaching foreign language. This method is totally in contrast of translation of this method in teaching English. Direct method, the best one is the teaching English directly using target language. The teacher teaches word by pointing to object or picture or by performing action, but some experts don't consider it a method at all. According to them, it's a principle, a system that operates through many methods. The time of research, the author did start from June 2022 at Paut Muslimat and Sadiqat and research subject of this study were children aged 4 until 6 years at Paut Muslimat and Sadiqat research tool and material. The tool used in the study were paper and pencil as writing tool in recording. And then mobile phone. There are several previous studies that helped in writing and research, including one improving English vocabulary mastery for early childhood education students through picture book in Group B of the Holy Castelia Kindergarten. This type of research discusses how to increase children's vocabulary through the storybook approach, and second, the method of learning English vocabulary in early childhood. This study discusses what is done in learning English from the teacher perspective. This research and previous studies have some things in common, namely focusing on the analysis of English learning method. This study used a descriptive method in the form of written or spoken word that direct the view of human beings study. English teacher always need teaching method to help students imagine their ideas, besides being able to provide students with the convenience of stimulating the right brain stimulation of the best way to teach new word for all subjects, including English. This means that teacher in the teaching and learning process can be used visual things as media, namely video, song, stick, picture, or etc. So students can receive learning material very well. However, in this study, the research chose picture as teaching media that could develop and motivate students to learn easily, including vocab, and therefore, the research provided one type of image as a visual medium, namely pop-up. Pop-up pictures are one of the alternative media in the teaching and learning process of English vocabulary to improve student achievement because pop-up pictures have many color and interesting and motivating. This means that a pop-up image is image that contains a piece of paper that folds and appears on the front of an image when the image is open. So by using pop-up pictures, students can see the real and live picture rather than image that three-dimensional and colorful. The second is image or photo media. Photo is a medium for reproduction, the original form in two dimensions. This photo is an effective visual tool because it can visualize something that will be explained more concretely and realistically. The information conveyed can be understood easily, and the results demonstrated are closer to the reality through photo shown to the children, and the result will be the same. And next is comics media. Comics are the media that are simple, clear, and easy to understand. Therefore, comics media can function as information and educative media. Even so, The use of comic art must be careful because they are often more commercial in nature without considering its impact. The benefit and function of media in general is the presentation of message so that they are not too verbalistic, overcome the limitation of space, time, and sense, can overcome to the passive attitude of student because learning using media can create enthusiasm for learning, allow more direct interaction between student and the environment, and yeah, to learn independently according to their abilities. Conclusion. It was proven by the result of English vocabulary that test that there was an increase in the percentage of students who scored at least 80 from 80.7% in cycle 1 and to 83.3% in cycle 2. Not only that, the use of pop-up images can increase student participation in class. The children teaching and learning English vocabulary was proven by the result of increasing the percentage of student participation from 18% in cycle 1 to 88.9% in cycle 2. The result of data analysis showed that the statistical value it could be concluded that the use of English authentic using media visual material had a significant effect of student reading comprehension achievement. The suggestion, according to the result of the research finding, the strong suggestion that the writer wants to share that might be taken for student or the lecturer and teacher toward the research finding that describe about the quality of the student ability and the pronoun common error made by student in translation. This, uh, this ability and the pronoun common error made by student can be reference reference for student increase their knowledge about translation theory and the process of learning. Students are aware and keen of error that they made, the cause of how to avoid it. The finding of this research is fine-tuned and syllabus of translation. It can be used for the lecturer to evaluate how their way in teaching translation. Then the writer hoped that this research can be new method atau or new way to teaching that effective to improve the English vocabulary for children. To the other research in the future as information and conduct further research with different research design as a class action research to improve to improve such as class action research and as to improve student reading authentic reading materials such as proper photo and other. I think that's all enough for me. And